I don't know if I was trying to numb the pain or whatnot, but it was like that was fun to me. And because that was fun, that made me happy. I just did it. And from that, this question is so deep that I want to
Just let it all out, man. Hello, I'm Sam.
And I'm Amelia.
Welcome back to Us Duo Podcast. Podcast where we aim to build a better mindset for better relationships.
Yeah, this week we are going through mindset, could be deepening our relationship or understanding of each other. We have picked another deep conversation starter card game that we're going to go through. And from that, we've had a preview. We've got some really deep philosophical, I guess, sort of questions. It goes from block 1 to 14, but
Shit.
because we're all about deep conversations, we're going straight to block 14. So today is going to be quite a casual conversation because we've had a few deep conversations in the past for the last few episodes. So we wanted to do something that's more casual and we'll go with the flow and see how we go.
Ready when you are.
Are you ready?
Ready when you are.
Ready. Okay, so block 14, first question. Beyond your name, profession, and roles, what aspect of your identity do you feel truly define who you are as an individual? Straight in the deep end. So, stripping away your name, your profession, all the things that you define as your identity, how would you explain yourself that truly defines you and who you are?
That is a deep block question. When I think of that question, I think I am someone that not to sound overly confident, but I feel like I have this type of aura where I like to help people in some way and form, whether it is something that's small to something that's relatively big. If I can add some sort of 2 cents in the conversation that will help give clarity to someone's direction, I like doing that, whether it's a conversation, whether it's showing someone how to do something, teaching someone how to do something. I feel like I've always gravitated towards something that is like that.
So, you're a helper.
You could say that, yeah. I'm a helper / aider.
Interesting. Trying to think how I would define myself because I think in a broader perspective, I've never really labeled myself towards an identity. Like I'm not like a designer. I'm not a, I don't know, whatever, car enthusiast. I don't really label myself as that in correlation to my identity. I've always thought of myself as quite an individual, like I'm kind of like, if you're in a tech world, I'm a add-on plugin. So if you need me, you can plug me in and I can be a part of your world, be adaptable and come and help you. And if you don't need me, then you don't need me and I will still live my life. I will still work how I work and do the things that I enjoy. And that's how I see myself. I don't know, that really resonates with people because not everyone's in tech, but I see myself as like an add-on plugin.
That's actually a pretty good way to explain something to someone that maybe not necessarily from the tech world or like they're from the tech world or not, but I think of it like you're like a USB. You know how you just plug a USB into something, but it's not in effect of like the USB contains anything. It's just the concept of you being able to be used as USB. You know what I mean?
And I think me as a person, I'm quite like a free person. So I am okay and I love to do things on my own and I will always find things where I will enjoy doing on my own. But if I was to do it in a group with friends or with family, I can also do that and I'm happy to do that. So defining me as a person, I would say I'm quite a free spirit, maybe. I think that might be the word. I don't know. Do you see that?
Interesting. If you want to put it in a definition of free spirit, I would say, yeah, I say I wouldn't use it as a free spirit. I'd say you're someone that's very individual. Like you said, you can be alone or you can be used,
Mm.
and it doesn't really bother
I
you.
can be used. That sounds so bad.
Well, yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think for you defining you as like the helper, I do see that the helper, but also like I think you're more an enabler, like in a good way. You enable people to be like, you can do this. You've got the ability to do whatever you want to strive for. So I think you're that enabler.
I think someone was telling me that I'm a good listener. Like I'm someone that I can sit down and just listen to people just ramble on and really give that assistance if needed.
So beyond your name, profession, and role, what aspects of your identity do you feel truly defines who you are as an individual? Yeah, I think that answers it.
Mm.
Next one. How has your past shaped your present understanding of yourself, and what key experiences have contributed to your sense of identity? A lot of identity questions.
So your past experiences have shaped your
Understanding of yourself.
far
So
out
less of what your past experience have brought you to who you are today, but something, an experience that has helped you understand who you and finding your sense of identity.
experience. I feel that I don't feel like there's any specific pinpointed experiences that I feel like that resonates to answering the question. But in terms of experience in general, a lot of mistakes that I've made that I find, whether it's small or big, that's what really taught me my true identity because I fucked up. I've made mistakes in terms of like finances or making financial decisions or making a decision, whether it's in career or love relationships and things like that. All those experiences to me has taught me who I am.
Mm.
I don't know if that really answers the question, but I can't find a specific experience that has been, whoa, that's a massive, like a,
So, was there one moment or even a point in time when you, okay, this feels very aligned to who I am as a person, and I can truly be myself?
to be honest, I don't think so. Only because I'm a person that I want to continuously grow. So I'm never at a space where I'm like, oh, I'm truly happy.
No, I don't think, because that's different. Because if like everyone would love to strive and continue to grow, but there's a point where you're like, okay, this really aligns with me, and I truly feel myself at this point in time. Like everything that you want, everything that you feel is you, you're aligned with that.
Yeah, I still feel that there's probably not one thing that is specific, but the only thing I could say that resonates in terms of the alignment to that is probably when I figured out, I guess, my identity in terms of my personality. You know, the transition from being learning how to be more blunt and learning how to be more out there. That's how I feel that's when I really truly figured out myself in terms of me as a character.
So when you say you figured yourself out, so in the past when you were afraid to be more blunt, did you think that internally you were that blunt person, but you were just afraid to speak up or say something about it?
Maybe, yeah. Because to give you some context, and this is a funny question because I actually had this conversation with Sam, who is like a really, really close family friend who I consider like a brother in most cases. And we were talking about how back in the day we were taught by family or whatever upbringing that we had to be very respectful to whatever, anything, whether it's girls, relationships, friendships, and things like that. We never really chased what came as an opportunity. And how this leads to that question is I was never really blunt in those opportunities for speaking those out. So if it was an opportunity that came in front of me, I wouldn't take that opportunity. I would just go, well, hang on. I'd sort of have a roadblock for some reason. And I never really was blunt about making a decision or just going for it
You mean
or speaking
decisive?
I never really made a decision. Never was decisive on what direction I wanted to choose.
Mm.
And it was only until the point where I actually made a flip of how I guess my mindset or how I thought of things and really chased those things. That's when I think I really started to discover myself as someone, this is truly who I am.
Mm. for me to answer this question, how has your past shaped your present understanding of yourself and contributing to your sense of identity? I have to be honest, I don't think I have even found my identity yet, but I think I am definitely a lot closer now than I was in the past. And I'm still forever seeking this identity because there's still a lot of things that I don't quite understand about myself yet. But things that I feel has influenced me to get more of an understanding or actually try to get more of an understanding is definitely meeting and talking to you because of how you are, and at that stage you are already this blunt, or not blunt, but knows how to be straightforward, knows how to voice your opinion respectfully, know how to be honest, straightforward. And by doing that, it allowed me to open up and be more true to myself in a case where I know when I was younger, I always had thoughts or my own opinions in my head, but I never spoke out or shared my opinions. And that, again, is also upbringing because you have to respect people. And also, I think partially being a female in an Asian family, usually it's like you are the person that sits there and be quiet. You don't really share much as being a girl. So that held a lot back for me, and I didn't know that I was allowed to share opinion or share thoughts. And meeting you and seeing how you potentially push me to actually just voice things that if I have something I want to say, just say it. And over life experience, like from Korea, you have to speak up as well. So that has brought me closer to understanding what I do like or prefer and what aligns with me as a person. But as a whole, have I found my sense of identity yet? I don't think I have a final answer.
Like I said, that's the same thing for me too. I think I'm closer, but not 100%.
Mm. This next one is a bit confusing. I am ESL, so English is not my
Same
first
here.
language. So this one is, in moments of self reflection, what values or principles do you find are at the core of your identity, guiding your decisions and actions? I think it's what are your guidelines, I guess, that you go against, which are your core values and your core principles that helps you make your decision.
Okay, this one's a really hard one because really it comes down to, yeah, like the value. So I guess it depends on what the decision is, right? So I'm trying to use something as an example so it makes a little bit more sense or has a bit more clarity. But from a decision making basis, like for career, for an example, how I make a decision is based off what I personally feel is the right decision that suits me as a character and me as a character within that working environment. The values that I really look at is more on one. Well, obviously one is the working environment. I don't, and cut me off if I go off a tangent here.
I don't know if Korea is quite a good example though, because that Korea, you already have a direction. So there's already some values and principles that you have. But if it's more like life decisions, like whether or not you should move overseas or if you should break up with someone or if you should stay friends with a person, like what are some values and principles that you would consider to help guide your decision?
So if I'll use relationship an example. So if I had a life partner, i.e. you, if I were to make a decision, so like
Say we came to a crossroad.
if we came to a crossroad where I had to make a decision, what I would probably look at considering is well, one, I need to look at you as a holistic person. So you as a person, do you carry the values that I respect and I carry along as
Like,
well?
are our values aligning still,
That's right,
or has
yeah.
it changed?
As our values as a couple, is that still the same? Is the values of my personal values, is it different or has it differed from what it was originally? And I would compare the two.
Mm.
Now, if there's any misalignment, so I guess for me, what I really look at is I hold my partner on a similar pedestal as me in terms of them in their personal life. So as long as you have the ambition to chase for goals and things like that, if you're consistently trying to improve yourself in life, whatever it is, whether it's a small thing like a hobby to big things, and also the fact that, you're obviously loving and caring, the typical things, but also the sharing of the similar values. Like, what do you truly want? Do you want do you want a family? Some people want other things, like they want to travel the world, or they want to focus purely on career and not really focus on that relationship side of things. So those are the things that I really look into when it comes to this particular category.
Yeah. So the values and principles that you think about or consider is really alignment, and also what are they also striving for?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, broader perspective, even outside of a relationship, I think some things I consider is really looking at, because I think I'm quite considerate of other people. So is it a moral decision? So is it, when I make a decision, does it sound selfish, or does it actually, will it affect anyone else around me? Will it affect them? And what would that look like if I make a decision? And of course, alignment of values and principles as well. So as long as it's aligned with my goals and where I want to go, but it also doesn't affect other people, if it does include other people, then usually that's how I make my decision. And then if it's more like a risk taking decision, then again, still considering, does it affect someone else? Like, say, yeah, obviously we're married and I want to move overseas. I can't just like pick up and leave, right? I have to consider, what are you going to think? What would you like to do? Like, if we do move, what's going to happen? And like family, all that stuff. So these are the things that I consider in self reflection in terms of values and principles. So as much as I might like this one decision, it's morally, like, is it moral? Can I do it? Is it feasible? If it's not, then I'll probably have to let go of this thought. And if it's something that I can't let go of this thought, then it's like, why is it so important to me? And if it's important to me, then obviously I have to voice it to someone. Like, if this is something that affects you, I will have to voice it to you and be like, hey, this is something I've been really considering and I want to discuss it with you. So these are usually what I would think about and consider during decision making.
Yeah, I think that risk component is a big one that I actually over didn't really think about. The risk component is actually really important because obviously, if it's a significant decision that impacts your life dramatically, then yeah, all those other components that you have to think or consider is like your family, like your partner. What does that affect? Is it moral, immoral, or if it has any implications to anything else? And then obviously making that decision based off what is the less collateral damage.
But it also says what are the values or principles do you find are at the core of your identity? So the other question that I would ask is this in alignment of my identity? So is this something that I actually want, or is it just because something I saw everyone's doing on social media and now I'm like, oh, I want a piece of that too. So that's
Yeah,
the identity. Like, is it truly me, or is it just something that I see other people do and I think it's cool?
yeah.
But maybe in 2 months' time, it's not cool anymore and everyone's over it. And why am I even doing it in the first place? So asking why.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question because, yeah, a lot of people get clouded by what others are doing, especially when it comes to social media.
Yeah, sometimes it's fine. Like, it could
Mm,
be something that actually does trigger something that you never knew you wanted to do, but
yeah,
it's really digging into why. Like, is it truly something that piques your curiosity, or are you doing it because other people are doing it and it's not really aligned with you? So, yeah, that's mainly what I would go through.
yeah, yeah, 100%. I feel the same way.
Mm. This next one, how do you navigate the balance between the external expectations placed on you and your authentic self, particularly in various social and professional contexts?
Fuck.
This one I think you do quite well, though. This is what I mostly appreciate you for, is because you are very authentic to yourself no matter what setting you are in, even at work. You're not afraid to say no and stand up for your own boundaries, but you're also respectful in a way when you're like, nah, I don't want to do that. Whereas someone like me, especially back in the past, I wouldn't say anything or be afraid to say no, because I'm like, especially in a setting, and your boss or your manager's like, hey, can you do this for me? And it's not because they were forcing it. It's more like, hey, can you do this for me? And my head is like, oh, this is my boss or my manager asking me to do something. And I would probably make my, like, carve out time to do this task and say yes anyway, rather than saying no. Whereas for you, you're like, no, I actually don't have time to do this. I can't really do whatever this task is. And you actually say no. You don't feel guilty about it and you leave it as that. Whereas I would have felt guilty.
Yeah, this actually took me ages to learn. When you figure out what your true identity is in terms of like those boundaries or whatever it is, it's purely just aligning your decisions, whether it's like the social expectations or the work side of things, according to how you truly feel like you want to do it or not. Like,
Mm,
yeah, understanding within work environments, if it is within your role and task to do so, then sure, okay. But obviously, being realistic in terms of can you achieve it within that specific day or whenever that deadline is, that's what you have to hold true to that.
But also in answering this though, even though, yeah, I say back then I used to struggle more so if like a task is given to me that I think sometimes it's more like struggling to say no. But overall, in terms of navigating the balance between external expectations versus my authentic self, I don't think I ever put that much emphasis on this because if I don't want to do it or if I don't like it or if it's like an expectation, like parents are like, when are you guys going to have kids? You're all 30 something, you don't have kids. Like that stuff never bothered me. So I don't think there was much of a struggle to navigate the balance between this for me in terms of asking that question, like between social and professional context.
Yeah, I don't think I have an issue of balancing it, but I think in my earlier days, for sure,
Mm,
definitely like as I was trying to learn and figure myself out, yeah, I think I did struggle with that. But in
mm.
terms of the last 10 years, I don't think so.
Yeah, so navigating the balance between that, I think really just speaking up. If something did, it's not that it triggered you or anything, but if someone asked a question or asked something that's like socially expected of you, you just reply. Like you just reply, give them what's actually happening right now, or like going back to that kids example of people like, oh, when are you having kids? Either you joke and laugh it off, or you really say that we're not ready for it right now. Like it's really as simple as just communicating it. So I don't think there's anything that's like too difficult with it as long as you
Yeah.
voice yourself.
Yeah. I think you just got to understand or have the confidence within yourself as to what you think is right for yourself at that moment in time.
Mm. A quick interruption. We want to thank all of you who have been supporting us. And if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube.
If you found any of our episodes helpful, please share to your friends and family as it would help us grow.
Now back to the episode. This one's interesting, and we literally just had a conversation with Ray. The episode may have just gone out. And the question is, can you identify a specific turning point or realization in your life that significantly influenced your self perception and sense of purpose? So, like a moment that influenced where you're like, you either had to change your self perception or sense of purpose, or it actually defined your sense of purpose.
I feel that the the trigger point for me was probably the pinnacle point was when I was living with my mum. And I think the responsibility of looking after her, but also considering career growth on a more serious trajectory, that was my pinnacle turnover. And that was more on a fact of taking life a little bit more serious. Because at that time, it was just like, you're at that point in life where you're stuffing around, you're not really taking life seriously. That was the point where I had to say, okay, well, I need to really consider life a little bit more serious.
Would you say that point, the first time you got made redundant, was also part of it?
I would probably say the redundancy was probably the second kick in the butt,
Mm,
because that was more on a fact of, from a career perspective, that really showed me that I was still fresh into the industry and I knew no one at that point in time. But also, I never really thought about where I wanted to go because I was so new to it, and being introduced to that side of the industry, that was an industry that I originally didn't like.
mm.
So to be in that area or that space, that was a huge eye opener.
What about when your dad passed away? Did that also strike a chord or anything?
No, not necessarily, but it really did open my eyes in terms of the loved ones around you and the people that you treasure. It just
Mm,
makes you realize that things can happen with a click of a button. And it's more so treasuring that experience, that moments with family and friends. I think that was more
Mm.
to dial it back in terms of the dad situation. I think of that the dad passing away, that sense of purpose, that actually forced me to talk to people more. And that actually made me realize that people are going through their own personal struggles. And I think that's the point where I figured out that I liked talking to people, building that rapport, but also just trying to help people in some way or form. Even though, yeah, I'm still trying to mature and go through life myself and navigate through that journey or whatever it is. But the combination of, hey, life is so short and precious, but people are going through a bunch of stuff that, we don't realize.
Mm. I'm trying to pinpoint, like, not even a specific point, but anything in terms of that helped me find my sense of purpose. It's kind of a difficult one because me, from young till even early 20s, I think everything was quite a blur because, in a broader nutshell, I was never happy. It's not that I was never happy. I'm like a happy go lucky kind of person in front of everyone, and I'm actually happy with friends or hanging out doing experiences. But deep down, if I was to sit there and ask if I'm okay or if I was happy, I would say no. So everything was quite a blur. I didn't have a sense of purpose. I just went out clubbing all the time, and I don't know if I was trying to numb the pain or whatnot, but it was like that was fun to me. And because that was fun, that made me happy. I just did it. I know I want to cry, but I just did it. And then, yeah, I just did that. And I really had no sense of purpose. And from that, this question is so deep that I want to cry.
Just let it all out, man. Just let it all out. And to add on to that, that's one of the pinnacle points as well. When I met you, that's when I realized that from an outside perspective, people see her as a happy, bubbly person. But then when you look deeper into the nooks and crannies, you realize that this person is obviously going through a lot of pain. And I think that's what a lot of the people and the community that was around you at the time don't actually realize. And I feel like some people now to this day don't realize what had gone through in your experience.
Yeah, because I always had to go through a lot of things alone. And because of going through it alone, it was really hard. I didn't even know or wanted to share it with anyone because one, I didn't want to share the baggage. And two, I was just like, there's no point sharing it to anyone because I'm just, like, it's not really that important. So obviously, I found the things that made me happy, even though it was just like a cover up. So clubbing, going out drinking, and all that kind of stuff, it really just yeah, I followed what made me happy during that time, but really deep thinking in the bigger perspective, there was no purpose. I can't club and go out and drink and dance for the rest of my life. Like, what am I going to do with my life? And a lot of times there was a lot of hand holding in terms of like financial side. I leaned on like parents and stuff. And I didn't actually think or consider, okay, I need to find a job and build my career from there. So, as sad as it is, there is deep regrets where I didn't actually consider working earlier and get some experience so that after uni, I really had nothing going for me and I couldn't find a job. I couldn't, like, no one wanted my no expertise thing. I'm sure anyone that's graduated knows that common theme where you come out of uni, you can't find a job because everyone wants a junior that has 2 years experience, but you just graduated. Like, where are you going to find that 2 years experience from? So I was completely lost. And again, I think turning point is still with you, like Sam, because you at that point, you're already at that life stage where you at least have an idea of you, like you as a person, maybe not career wise, because you also wasn't sure where to go, but at least you were certain on who you are as a person. And that really did teach me a lot. And from there, that was a turning point where I'm like, okay, I really need to do something for myself. And even though I may not be in the career that I want to, or I may not be where I want to, like at least I know what I can't continue doing, which is like the clubbing, the drinking. And I remember there was one point that I was drinking and I was really drunk and you weren't with me. I was with my friends and you were pretty annoyed and pissed off because I came back drunk, and then my friends called you to pick me up, and then you were pissed off at me because I was like drunk off my face, couldn't even walk, and then you had to take me home, and you're like, I don't want to experience that ever again. And I think that did strike something in me because I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Like, why am I such a mess? So maybe that's a turning point. I don't know, but
Well, a bit of context for people.
how embarrassing, crying on camera.
Now it's good. Let it all out. So a bit of context for the guys in terms of the story. Some people might be listening, be like, "Oh, Sam, why you're a boyfriend? You should be looking after your girl." Yes, I get that, but to give you a bit of context, she was fucking absolutely plastered, spewing everywhere, and then one of your friends called me and was like, "Hey, can you come save your girlfriend because she's absolutely plastered?" And from my perspective, I don't really like it when people get plastered to the point where they spew.
But that's
And-
also because your dad was like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, only because my dad used to drink. He drank a lot, and that's because he was an immigrant. He goes through stress at work, so he would drink every weekend. And I used to see my dad come home spewing and, yeah, just being absolutely plastered. And the person who had to save him was my mum. So I always used to see my mum fucking clean up his spew and all this shit. And I remember thinking, man, I would say it's somewhat traumatized me because I'm like, I don't want to be like, I feel my mum's pain and I don't want myself to go through that stuff. So that's why when that happened, I'm like, well, hey, I understand that, yes, you enjoy clubbing, and I'm not saying don't go, like you can't go, but at least control yourself. Like have a limit or a boundary to say, hey, look, that's enough. But I guess, when you're out having fun.
There was a whole bunch of us. It wasn't just like 3 or 4, it was probably like 7, 10 people. But yeah, who would have thought this question would have made me cry?
Now you know.
Anyways, I don't know if this is already answered, but to what extent do your relationships with others, so I think other people, not just us two, contribute to your sense of self, and how do you maintain authenticity in these connections?
Oh, shit. Okay. Say the question one more time. This is a deep one.
To what extent do your relationships with others contribute to your sense of self? So what does the relationships around you contribute to your sense of self? And how do you maintain authenticity in these connections?
So I think I do this really well. So my relationships outside, I heavily align myself to those friendships, and I'm very picky with who I fuck with, essentially, because if I want to be around people who not just help energize my energy, but also somewhat aligned to me as a true person. So there's only realistically not even a handful of people that I really fuck with. And they're all types of characters and they're all forms of different people. But in hindsight, it's really just coming down to the core of the group. And that's just being able to be 100% transparent, no bullshit, just talk. And is being able to openly talk to some degree, though there's probably one person that is Sam, who I grew up with essentially, but we can openly have these candid conversations, but we're quite aligned in terms of how we see life and how we see things in general. So having that person there, that's what really helped me, I guess, align with my true core.
Mm. Just thinking, to what extent do your relationships with others contribute to your sense of self? So I'll answer that part first. I think I'm still quite that individual. So I think the relationship with others and how they contribute to my sense of self is really when I reach out to them and ask them questions, and then they can help me decipher, is it aligned with who I am and what my goals are. So that's probably how they would contribute to my relationship in terms of in terms of contributing to my sense of self. And how do I maintain authenticity in these connections? I still stand by that plug-in concept where, so I am quite an individual, and if you need me, just like when you open up your Google Chrome and you need a certain plugin, you would open it up. So I still think that I'm quite like that, and I'm very open and happy for anyone to reach out to me at any time, even if so this is like someone that we have built a relationship, we have talked about deep things or even not deep things, but someone might want my help and they'll be like, hey, I have this problem. Like, this is what's happening. I just want to see your thoughts. And maybe we haven't connected in a year. I am more than okay to help and answer these questions and help them out. And I, like, for myself, I feel like friendship in my eyes should be quite similar, like two ways. I have this relationship. So Shelly, she's been on here before. She's quite like that too. She's younger than me, but she always reaches out to me sometimes when she either has something she has on her mind or she's thinking about or she's going through some challenges, she'll reach out to me. But physically, I haven't seen her in like 1 to 2 years since last time, probably when we did the podcast recording. But sometimes she'll message me on Messenger and I'll just help her out. And it's quite like that concept. And then, yeah, I just don't want to hold a friendship or a relationship where it's like, hey, you haven't talked to me in the last 3 months. Your plugin has expired. Like, it's not like that. It's I'm just that person that's there and I'm more than happy to answer questions. And I feel like I should be able to lean on friendships and other people in that same manner. And that's how I maintain authentic connections, because when you are able to just have that trust in someone else to listen to you and share thoughts that may not have the answers for me, but share thoughts, opinions, and ideas. That's how I find an authentic relationship.
Yeah, 100%. And that is exactly how I feel as well. And I think the biggest thing is emphasizing on the fact that you don't have to physically see each other. It's more on just talking. And it doesn't matter how frequent or how often you guys talk. It's the conversations or the quality of the conversations that you have every time you talk. And that's what I mentioned about being open and transparent, but also being honest when it comes to certain things and having those conversations where you guys can just go, hey, what is your thoughts on this? Or what do you think of this? And just being able to talk through that, that is the authenticity when it comes to that friendship and
Mm,
conversation.
yeah, for sure. This next one, how do you reconcile the evolving nature of identity with the desire for stability and a sense of continuity in your life? So, balancing the understanding that you're always going to change, your identity might evolve over time, but also versus the desire for stability. So, maybe the core purpose of yourself, you want that to be stable, but you know that your identity may evolve over time. So, how do you reconcile or understand the like, how do you come to terms with this, that you know that it might evolve, but you also want to find your core self?
Yeah, I understand my identity will forever evolve. On my, things may change and I'll have to adapt to that. But I feel that so long that I hold my true core in its core self.
What would those be though? Like, if we were to give some bullet points for what you say is your true core.
To simplify it, my true core is being, like I said, being that person who someone can just reach out and talk to, but also help them and have those open conversations that are genuine.
Yeah, but that's more like what would you like to do for other people? But what is your core? Like, are you an honest person?
Well, yeah, in terms of being an honest but a transparent person, and I will always keep that as my core self. Even though, yeah, my identity might change in terms of I don't know, like my identity towards life expectations or projection to what I am trying to achieve might change. But as long as I hold myself true, which is being honest and being transparent within that, I feel like as long as you bring yourself back to that core, then that's you being true to yourself. But what's that continuity?
Yeah, I see it as from a design perspective. A client might come in with a brief. Their brief will have these core things that they want to achieve. So they want to grow following, they want to grow, make a new website, they want to have more, conversions, so more people buying their products. So these are like the core, what's it called? Your core identity or your core brief that you want to go to. But the end result or what you design to help your client get to this point, that might change. So they might come in and be like, I want branding or want a new logo, but really they actually just needed, some marketing materials for their store to help advertise them, or they actually needed a website. Like these are different identities that might change. So that's how I see it. So me applying this to my life, I have always been like, I've never been like, this is my identity. I'm set to this and this is who I am. And once that changes, who am I? Like, that might happen. And I do have those questions. But at the same time, I understand that identity can change and can evolve. So, for example, a long time ago when I had to stop piano, I did explain this in one of the previous episodes. When I stopped piano, I was like, who am I? Because people knew me as like the person who knows how to play piano. If I go to somewhere that has a piano, they'll get me to play and all that kind of stuff. And stopping that, I won't have that anymore because I might forget how to play piano or might forget a song. But then realizing that that's not me, that's just some skills that I've acquired, but still that doesn't define me, and understanding that these can change. So one day I might be, so for example, right now, what I'm going through is I did Muay Thai for the last 5 years, but potentially I have to pause this or stop this due to personal reasons. And what I felt was I wasn't as at a loss or just confused who I am as I did when I had to stop piano. And I think it's just that understanding that these things that you pick up and you learn and you pick up along the way doesn't define you, and these things will change. Like maybe one day when we become parents, we might have to stop going to gym all the time. Like that's also something that's part of our identity because a lot of people know us as fitness junkies. So that's going to change too. So it's just being okay with that. So to reconcile with the evolving nature of identity is just being okay that change happens. So as long as me as a person, I still hold the values and the boundaries and the non-negotiables that I need to be my best self. As long as those are there, everything else can change. So for me, it's being open and caring and doing things that are moral and be a good listener, be a good friend, be a good partner. Like these things are the things that I set in stone. Everything else is fine to change.
That's a great way to explain it. Better than mine.
You're welcome. We'll end it with this last one. This one might require some thinking. If you were to describe yourself using a metaphor or symbols, what would they be and how do they encapsulate the essence of who you are? Maybe instead of doing it for yourself, we do it for each other.
A symbol or
Metaphor.
a metaphor?
So like a phrase or like a quote. So a symbol or metaphor that encapsulates the essence of who you are. So who I am.
Who you
And I'll
are.
do it for you.
Golly, okay. No, I was gonna say the emoji. There's a dog emoji thing. There's a Shiba emoji
Yeah, but how does that encapsulate the essence of me?
of you. Well, because you're someone who is high energy, happy, friendly, very, very caring, and I see that in like a Shiba's face. I don't know why. It's because it's cute, but then I think what people don't realize is like the underlying things behind that face. Not saying that Shibas go through a whole bunch of bullshit, but just
I'm
saying,
loyal.
yeah, you're like a loyal person, like a loyal, yeah.
Nice. I'll take that. I like Shivas. I think for you, now what I can think of is the bicep emoji. You know, the bicep emoji?
Ah,
Yeah. And I think of that because there's a few different things. Like you're strong inside and out, like physically you're strong, but inside you as a person mentally, and you are strong to stand for the things that you believe in and your opinions and just being honest. Like you're strong in being honest and honest to yourself and to others as well, being transparent. So I think the bicep emoji is quite suitable, encapsulates your essence of who you are.
all about them gains, eh?
Yeah, all them gains.
Nice.
But yeah, we'll leave it as at that because there are quite a lot of deep questions here. One even made me cry. Didn't expect that. because I never cry.
And you're about to cry again.
I'm not. Just dry eyes speaking here.
Oh, yeah. Understand.
But yeah, this one was a good one. It was on deepcards.org. So if you want to do it with any of your friends, your family, there's a whole bunch. And we only did some on block 14. So I can see this going on for a long time. But yeah, this was really good. Really enjoyed it. Did learn a lot and definitely took a different perspective to what we like, the angles and how we answered the questions compared to how we usually do it in other episodes. This one was pretty fun.
Guys, check it out. We'll leave it in the links. Let us know if maybe we interpreted some of those things differently. But
yeah, ESL.
It's all open to your own interpretation. But once again, thank you for joining us, and we will see y'all in the next episode.
Bye.
Peace.